Balin Miller, a 23-year-old solo climber, reached the summit plateau of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. The weather that day was clear, dry, and calm, perfect conditions for climbing. For 6 days, Balin had been alone on the wall, recording his progress for TikTok. The climb was complete. He was alive and safe. But on big walls like El Capitan, nearly 900 meters high, reaching the top doesn't mean it's over. Your gear, ropes, and haul bags still hang hundreds of meters below you. Before leaving, you have to pull everything up. Only then can you hike down the trail on the other side of the mountain. That's what Balin started doing. During the descent, a stranger happened to pass by, way down in the valley. He noticed a mysterious figure on the mountain and decided to stream it on TikTok. Thousands of viewers watched the process online. He began hauling his heavy haul bag, a large gear sack attached to the ropes far below. But something went wrong. The bag got stuck on a rock ledge deep beneath him. Balin decided to go down the rope and free it himself. He set his system, leaned back, and began descending, slowly, carefully, meter by meter. The rope hissed softly through his device. The granite glowed gold in the midday sun. And then, at some point, Balin likely didn't realize that the end of the rope was near. He went a little lower, one more step down, and in that moment, everything changed. Balin grew up in Anchorage, Alaska, in a close and outdoorsy family. His father, David, was a mountain guide. His mother, Sarah, a teacher who loved hiking. He had a brother, Dylan, and a sister, Emma. They often joined him on trails as kids, watching him climb higher than anyone else dared. His family later said, "The mountains were his second home, and we always knew that's where his heart truly lived." From an early age, Balin's parents noticed his unusual calmness and focus. His mother once said in an interview, "He was never afraid of heights. Even as a toddler, he'd crawl to the edge just to look down, not recklessly, but with this strange fascination." In 2023, Balin began filming his climbs on a small GoPro Hero 9, later editing them into short clips for TikTok. His videos stood out. No music, no voiceovers, only wind, breathing, and the rhythmic click of carabiners. His followers called him the Orange Tent Guy, a reference to the bright portaledge he used on big walls. To fund his expeditions, Balin worked hard during Alaska's fishing and mining seasons. He spent months at sea catching crabs, saving every dollar for ropes, cams, and plane tickets. But the expenses were huge, and sponsorships were rare. That's when he and his family decided to start Veer Get Outdoors, a small outdoor brand built to support his expeditions. The idea was simple: create clothing and gear inspired by real climbs, not marketing. Balin's brother, Dylan, helped design the logo and products, while Balin contributed photos and stories from the mountains. By the time he turned 23, Balin Miller had already built a reputation that most climbers could only dream of. Balin Miller first became widely known on the internet after his solo ascent of the Slovak Direct Route on Denali in May 2025. That climb, a 2,700-meter solo on one of North America's hardest alpine walls, shocked the mountaineering world. Until then, he had a small online following for his calm TikTok videos from Alaska. But after Denali, major climbing media like Climbing Magazine, Alaska Daily News, and Alpinist began writing about him. Clips from his GoPro and short TikTok posts from the climb went viral. He was the first person to solo the Slovak Direct Route on Denali, which took him 56 hours to complete. After his historic solo of Denali's Slovak Direct, Balin didn't slow down. He set his sights even farther south, on Patagonia. The region's walls are known as some of the most brutal in the world. Unpredictable storms, razor-sharp granite, and winds strong enough to rip ropes from anchors. Few climbers go there alone. Balin's climb in Patagonia was special because he did it completely solo. Balin carried all his gear, led every pitch alone, and finished within a short weather window. After Patagonia, Balin moved north to the Canadian Rockies, continuing his series of bold solo ascents. There, he targeted one of the most dangerous ice routes in North America, Reality Bath, near Canmore, Alberta. The route is infamous for its thin, brittle ice and massive exposure. Balin climbed it alone, using minimal gear, finishing the ascent in a single push. His solo of reality bath was considered a huge milestone in modern alpinism, combining mixed climbing, frozen waterfalls, and vertical rock in near-freezing temperatures. By late September 2025, Balin Miller had already climbed in Alaska, Patagonia, and the Canadian Rockies. But one place still waited for him: Yosemite National Park. For many climbers, Yosemite is not just a destination, it's a pilgrimage. Its granite walls, clean, steep, and endless, are where legends are made. Balin arrived in California in mid-September, quiet and focused. His goal was the Sea of Dreams route on El Capitan, a 900-meter wall of near-vertical granite and one of the most complex aid routes in the park. The name alone carried a kind of poetry that fit him perfectly. Few ever dared to climb it solo. The Sea of Dreams route on El Capitan was one of Yosemite's most feared walls, steep, fragile, and unpredictable. Every piece of gear had to be placed into cracks no wider than a fingertip. Thin copperheads, hooks, and micro nuts that could rip out under the slightest shift of weight. A single mistake could mean a fall of 20 meters or more. Very few climbers have ever soloed El Capitan, and even fewer have attempted routes as dangerous as Sea of Dreams. In climbing, solo means doing everything completely alone. No partner, no help, no one to hold your rope. The climber must set each anchor, haul all their gear, and manage every system by themselves. There's no margin for error, no one to correct a mistake. Every move, every knot, every placement decides whether you live or die. He brought the same orange portaledge, a small tent he had used in Alaska and Patagonia. Locals later said they could spot it halfway up the wall, a bright dot against the gray stone. During his 6-day ascent, he filmed everything. Short clips of setting anchors, boiling water, watching the sunset over Yosemite Valley. September 27, 2025, around noon, Balin Miller finally reached the summit of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. Balin finally got a brief cell signal and sent a short text to his mom. It said, "Top, safe, beautiful." Those were his last words to his family. He wasn't smiling widely or celebrating. His expression was neutral, serious, concentrated. The climb had taken 6 days alone on the wall, and by the time he reached the top, exhaustion replaced joy. There's a quiet satisfaction in that moment, not happiness. Suddenly, somewhere below in the valley, a man set up his camera. A long lens pointed toward the wall of El Capitan. The man was called Eric, and he wasn't a friend of Balin, but just spontaneous witness of his descent. He is a blogger and content producer who calls himself a Yosemite superfan. He has his own TikTok channel, where he usually streams climbing adventures and shares stories from the park. He began to record. At first, it was just curiosity. A distant figure moving against the golden rock, methodically descending. The man zoomed in, trying to see more clearly. In the video, Balin first tried to reach his haul bag, but it was caught on a small rock ledge. He pulled on the rope several times. No movement. The bag was jammed. After a few attempts, Balin decided to descend and free it manually. He spent some time preparing his system. He clipped his carabiner to the main rope, checked the belay device attached to his harness, and made sure the backup knot above him was secure. Then he leaned back into the rope and began rappelling down. Slow, controlled, precise. Each move was methodical. Release a little rope, stabilize with one hand, check his position, and continue. His movements were confident. The technique, perfect. When the haul bag was just a few feet away, suddenly, he dropped. No hesitation, no visible mistake, just an abrupt fall, as if the rope beneath him had vanished. For a second, the man behind the camera kept filming, stunned. The wall was empty, the rope swaying gently in the wind where Balin had been seconds earlier. When the fall was reported, park rangers and Yosemite search and rescue teams were already on alert. Calls came in from multiple climbers, and one man live streaming through a telescope from the meadow. Within minutes, rescuers were on their way to the base of El Capitan. By the time they arrived, daylight was fading. The wall was still warm from the sun, but the shadows below were already cold. Pieces of rope and equipment were visible from the ground, signs of the fall scattered among the rocks. A helicopter from the California Highway Patrol circled above to locate the exact position. The terrain was too steep and unstable to approach immediately, so rangers marked the coordinates and decided to resume at first light. At dawn, on September 28th, Yosemite search and rescue teams began the ascent from the base. They reached the site mid-morning and confirmed what everyone feared. Balin Miller was gone. His body was carefully lowered and transported from the valley that afternoon. The investigation suggested that Balin Miller's fall was most likely caused by a simple technical mistake, rappelling off the end of his rope. While descending to free his haul bag, the rope wasn't long enough to reach the bottom, and no stopper knot had been tied at the end to prevent sliding off. The Miller family released their first public words 2 days after the accident. His mother, Sarah Miller, posted a short message on social media. "The mountain took my Balin, but it never took his peace. He died doing what he loved, the only place he ever felt truly alive." In a later interview with People, she added, "He wasn't chasing danger. He was chasing stillness." Climbing was his way to listen to the world. His father, David Miller, a former guide, said their son was meticulous and calm. He didn't take risks for fame. He prepared for everything. That's why this hurts even more, because he did everything right. The family asked for privacy but encouraged people to remember Balin through his climbing videos, which they decided to keep public as a tribute. That was how he spoke to the world, Sarah said, through those quiet clips, the sky, the rope, the wind. His sister, Emma Miller, later posted on TikTok, "He never wanted followers. He just wanted people to see what he saw, how small we are, and how beautiful the world can be when you're not afraid to climb." After his funeral in Anchorage, Alaska, hundreds of climbers and friends gathered online and in person, leaving orange tents, ropes, and chalk marks as symbols of remembrance. Balin Miller wasn't just a climber. He was a reminder of what it means to be truly alive, to search for meaning not in noise, but in silence. Every ascent he made was more than a challenge. It was a conversation with the earth, the wind, and himself. He lived in a world few ever see, hanging between sky and stone, where time slows and fear turns into focus. His climbs were not about victory. They were about presence, about being fully there, every heartbeat, every breath, every pull on the rope. Even now, his story continues. His videos, his voice, his calm, they echo across screens and hearts around the world. In every view, in every message left behind, he's still teaching what he always lived for: peace in motion. The mountains will remember him, not for the way he fell, but for the way he moved, the way he looked at the horizon and kept climbing. Because for Balin Miller, the summit was never the end. It was just another beginning.